Good morning or afternoon, everyone, depending on where that you are joining us from today. My name is Sierra Johnson. I'm the Director of Professional Development with the VPPPA National Office, and I'll be serving as your moderator for today. I want to thank you for joining us for today's presentation as we talk about AI in safety management, the good, the bad, and the reality. Just a couple of quick housekeeping items before we get started. We will save all questions until the end of today's presentation. So if you have any questions that you'd like our speaker to address, please feel free to type those into the chat. That can be located on the right side of your screen. Today's presentation would not be possible without the help of our sponsor, Certainty Software. Certainty helps companies ensure compliance, reduce risk, and improve performance with easy-to-use forms, real-time reports, and complete action management. Collect, track, and report accurate and powerful data to provide detailed business insights that will empower your team to improve performance and business sustainability. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about Certainty's products and solutions, feel free to visit the link in the description below today's presentation. Today's speaker, of course, is Hewitt Roberts, CEO of Certainty Software. Hewitt is an accomplished business leader and entrepreneur with over 25 years of experience in enterprise-level software, as well as in guiding software companies toward growth and innovation. In his current role as CEO, Hewitt drives development and global adoption of the Certainty platform that empowers organizations to ensure that compliance, reduce risk, and achieve sustainability goals. We are very excited to have you here with us today. And with that, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sierra, and happy Earth Day, everybody. In today's presentation, we are going to be looking at the use of AI in safety management. Just a little bit about Certainty and the experience that we've had implementing AI in our own technology. Then a look at where we are today as far as safety management and AI is concerned. And then sort of as a result of that, really looking at the more common barriers and objections to using AI in safety. A quick look at some of the technologies that are available to improve safety performance, and then overcoming those objections to take advantage of the benefits of implementing AI in safety management. So on that, Certainty is an enterprise-level audit and inspection management platform, and this presentation and the white paper behind it is based on our experience of implementing AI in the Certainty platform, which is used globally by 175,000 professionals or so around the globe, and they complete over 6 million audits and inspections every year, and also manage tens of thousands of corrective actions. And we have implemented 3 technologies. 2 are live and 1 is in beta, and they are Certainty Vision, which is a technology that allows you to complete inspections and audits automatically by virtue of the analysis of attachments, photos, images, documents, and that sort of thing to your audits and inspections, as well as Certainty Insights, which is effectively a prompt-based and automated reporting for any insights that you want to automatically generate from the results of your safety audits and inspections, and Analytics, which is a tool that allows you to glean information like insights, but from a wider data set than a single audits and inspections. Now, moving on, so the real question is, where are we now today as far as AI in safety management is concerned? A number of recent studies have indicated that somewhere between 26 and 33% of organizations are either using or considering using AI in safety management. And a fairly large chunk, of course, do not. Some are considering the use of AI moving forward. So given that so many people don't use AI in safety management, there are a number of objections, hurdles, barriers, and we looked through our customer base and spoke with many of them about their concerns. The first one, of course, is that AI is just so overwhelming. There's so many technologies, they're changing so quickly themselves. Many organizations just don't really know where to begin. And they're also worried about choosing a tool that will very quickly become obsolete or outdated by another AI technology. Similar to that is just the sheer reality of AI fatigue. You hear AI everywhere. It seems more of a marketing buzzword than something that's meaningful to most people. And in many cases, you have AI solutions out there looking for a problem to solve. And this Mo toilet is a good example. An AI bidet toilet seat. So, you see it everywhere, you hear it everywhere, and it is a bit of a concern for people. Third on the list, and obviously very, very significant, is the privacy concerns that are associated with the use of AI technologies. Because, of course, your data is exposed to the large language models, LLMs, and that could very well mean that your data is then also available for other organizations when they use those LLMs. Fourth one is the ethical concern. So if you have, for example, wearable AI technology that collects personal data, well, the question really is, well, where does that data go? Who's able to use it and for what purposes? Fifth aspect is cost. And again, we have a survey here from a recent study that indicates 29% of organizations indicate that cost is a significant factor for the implementation of AI technologies. Sixth factor is resistance to change. Now, this is a normal situation for any new process, procedure, technology, whatever it might be. But again, because AI is changing so quickly, the resistance seems to be quite a lot higher. Similarly, the organizations that contemplate the use of AI aren't really sure about the tools themselves. They don't trust them. They don't understand what impact it'll have on their workplace. And of course, they fear about not getting impact from their teams, their leadership teams, and even the teams that they manage and organize. Depending on the nature of the technology itself, there's quite often a lack of skills and infrastructure required to implement the AI technology. Now, of course, if you're going to implement, as the image shows here, robotics in a manufacturing line, the infrastructural change is much greater than, say, the use of ChatGPT or a software solution at your desk. The sixth factor we found was job security. So a lot of people, of course, are worried about their own jobs being replaced by AI, and thus, if you implement an AI technology yourself, you may do yourself out of a job. So very real concerns across the board. Putting that to one side, then looking at the technologies that are available, what is there? I mean, as we know, there's lots of them, and there are a lot of AI technologies to do a wide variety of jobs, tasks, and deliver different kinds of results. So the first kinds of tools are visualization solutions, like we implemented in Certainty with Certainty Vision, and that's whereby you can speed the process of safety audits and inspections by attaching relevant documents, MSDSs, policies, procedures, images, files, photos, that then are automatically analyzed to complete the audits and inspections for you, with text-based substantiation as to why the results were delivered. They were delivered, as well as confidence scores for the results that are delivered. Second type of technology is, data insights. So insights from, for example, completed safety audits and inspections, as is the case again with Certainty Insights, whereby you define what insights you want from the data that has been collected. And some examples would be, I want an executive summary of this ISO 45001 audit. I'd like a risk rating for this audit on a scale of 1 to 5. I'd like suggestions for corrective actions to improve performance. And these are, there's an endless list of things that you can garner from data, and these are all configurable and customizable based on your own needs. On a wider scale, the analysis of larger sets of data can obviously provide for, risk analysis, predictive analytics, the identification of anomalies and trends in your data. So you really can provide very insightful information from the data that you have spent the time collecting. Another set of tools and technologies is the real-time monitoring and alerts provided by AI technologies, similar to vision, where you can see and monitor workplaces and identify hazards in real time, and of course provide notifications to prevent or alleviate the issues at hand. AI is also very handy for safety education and training with AI-enhanced virtual reality and augmented reality training tools. It allows your teams to safely experience, dangerous situations in a risk-free environment before they're confronted with them in a day-to-day situation. When it comes to things like wearable technologies, obviously you can have solutions, AI-enabled solutions that will provide monitoring and alerts for things like toxic gas exposure, heat risk, noise exposure, fatigue, and obviously provide you with the tools to prevent issues before they happen. So obviously, there's lots of technologies available for use. There's lots of hurdles and barriers. So how do you overcome these objections to implement the tools that are right for you in your safety management activities? So when it comes to just the sheer number of AI solutions out there to choose from, and that volume is only going to increase over time, be very clear about the problem you are trying to solve. Don't just use AI for the sake of it. Define your requirements very clearly and choose the tools and technologies that will help you meet those requirements. When it comes to AI fatigue, again, focus on the real needs and the problems that AI can solve. A recent survey we came across found that 77% of employees that did implement AI reported an increase in workload. So be very sure about what it is you're actually trying to achieve, and be very clear about the expectations, and that you don't have expectation creep or scope creep in the technology such that what you were originally trying to achieve is now taken over by or overwhelmed by other needs and requirements of the business. Phase the implementation of the AI technology you're using so that people get used to it, and then you have people who can mentor others for that use. And on the mentoring side, again, make sure that you provide your team with the sufficient education, training, and ongoing support for the technology that has been chosen. When it comes to privacy concerns, this is a real issue. It's going to be here for the long run, as is AI itself. But don't put personal and proprietary information into an AI tool unless you absolutely have to, of course. And when it comes to solutions providers that do collect personal data, make sure that they themselves adhere to IT and data security best practices, and that those practices are compliant with the international privacy protocols, such as the Europe's GDPR and California's CCPA regulations, and ensure that the solution provider that you are working with has an API connection that is secure if they use LLMs with your data. The ethical concerns, again, very real. If you're, for example, using wearable technology that collects your personal data, verify that the solutions provider has an information security management system, again, also certified to international standards like ISO 27001. Limit the data collection to only the data that is needed to achieve the task that has been chosen, and ensure that the information that is collected is only used for the purposes set out in the technology and the project that you're running, and is not sold to or shared with others. As we saw recently in the news with the 23andMe software project, they went bankrupt. They sold their data to a third party. And again, this is something you need to be very careful of, that the solutions provider you're working with ensures that your data is not shared or sold with anyone else. And most importantly, if you don't know what's happening with your data, ask the solutions provider. When it comes to cost, just as with any other investment in technologies that it can help you improve your safety management performance, understand the return on investment of the technology at hand. Most organizations, as I said earlier, see cost as the most significant barrier to the implementation of projects. So start small and implement a project gradually based on your needs, the milestones of your project, and the budget that you have available. When trying to establish budgets and milestones, be sure to include the time and cost of training, implementation, and setup of the technologies that you do use. And where possible, use a subscription model for the use of the AI technology such that your projects can ramp up or down, or in fact be canceled if they don't meet the needs that you set out at the onset of your projects. When it comes to resistance to change, there's a quote here from Peter Gallagher, of course, a change management guru, that nothing negatively impacts organizations' performance quicker than employees who resist change and believe that the way they work today is the way they should work tomorrow. Now, in most cases, that's probably not the case, and certainly not the case with AI. But make sure, if you do choose to implement AI technology, that the team who's using it make sure that they understand how it will benefit them and improve workplace safety for them. And similarly, explain to them how these AI technologies, if implemented, can improve their work, their performance, and their results. And of course, again, back to training, alleviate the fear of change with sufficient training, education, and support for those that are using it. When it comes to the lack of skills and infrastructure, obviously that depends very much on the technology at hand. You have everything from just the simple use of ChatGPT to summarize, say, safety regulations, all the way through to, as I said earlier, the implementation of robotics for manufacturing. And be sure that you understand the resources that are required on a case-by-case basis. The issue of job security is a real one. I think it was PwC who recently said that there will be over 300 million jobs lost over the next 6 years because of AI. That's a fact, but it's also true that many jobs will be augmented by the use of AI. And what we've found is that the jobs that are most likely to be impacted by AI are those that involve structured and repeatable tasks, where those that are least likely to be impacted by AI are those that are in, say, unpredictable environments that require interpersonal skills, empathy, for example, and strategic thinking. And you can see here on the left, got a list of jobs that are based on structured and repeatable tasks, whereas on the right, you have a long list of jobs that are not based on structured and repeatable tasks, but rather more skill, interpersonal skill, empathy, unpredictable environments, and that sort of thing. So on the left, you see things like data entry clerks and customer service representatives, bookkeeping and accounting. So again, structured and repeatable tasks. On the right-hand side, you have, first responders, nurses, doctors, therapists, construction workers, people in leadership roles, safety management roles, for example, child and elder care help providers. So it does depend a little bit on the role, the position, the tasks they're in, but change is coming, and change is here in many respects as well. So we've looked at the technologies that are available. We've looked at the barriers. We looked at some of the ways around some of these barriers. So now let's have a quick look at the benefits of using AI in safety management. Obviously, you're going to lower your injury-related costs. Organizations that have implemented AI-enabled EHS systems have seen a reduction of 50% in injury-related costs. The numbers are there. It's the way that it seems to be going. Similarly, you can reduce the cost of long-term healthcare claims. from things like musculoskeletal disorders and wearable technologies, but that cost is significant and can be reduced through the use of AI technologies. Obviously, if you're able to analyze safety audit and inspection data and your safety data at large, you can use AI for rapid analysis of hazards, issues, and you can identify risks much quicker, detect hazards in the workplace much quicker, and therefore obviously respond much quicker to issues that would otherwise pose safety risks. You're going to also see fewer incidents and more prevention if you're able to reduce risk and react rather proactively rather than reactively. And companies that have implemented AI-powered predictive analytics have seen a 25 to 30% reduction in workplace accidents. Similarly, when you're, for example, conducting safety audits and inspections, you're going to get much more reliable outcomes. You're going to have technologies like vision and insights that will allow you to analyze data much more carefully, much more quickly, and much more closely, again, to implement proactive safety management practices to reduce issues, incidents, accidents. Obviously, similarly, if you are able to analyze your safety data better, deeper, faster, and quicker, you're going to be able to prioritize corrective actions, resource allocation, and improve overall performance of your safety management team and business. Similarly, if you implement AI technologies that reduce issues, incidents, accidents, you are also going to similarly reduce the cost of your insurance and reduce legal liabilities and other liabilities associated with safety issues and incidents in the workplace. With AI, you can also have the technologies replace those tasks that are structured and repeatable and allow your team to focus on those tasks that are better suited to them and improve safety performance by doing so. By also implementing technologies that analyze your safety audits and inspections and safety data, you will be able to much more easily and quickly identify anomalies and issues such as pencil whipping, where users will simply answer yes, 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 yes to questions to quickly get the job done. And AI technologies will very easily be able to identify those and help you rectify the issue or the root cause of the issue. On the issue of root cause, again, if issues do happen and you have technologies that allow you to analyze data that relates to issues and incidents, AI can be used to determine the root cause of issues and incidents much quicker and with much better data analysis, and provide you with abilities to prevent those issues and problems from happening again. Again, similarly, if you implement technologies that actually do help people do their jobs better and improve safety in the workplace, you are going to have a more proactive safety culture in your business, which is a win-win situation for everybody. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. If any of our folks joining us live today have any questions that you'd like us to address, please feel free to leave those in the comments on the right side of your screen. In the meantime, we'll go through some of the questions that were submitted ahead of time from our registrants. The first one being, why would you trust that AI wouldn't suddenly be pulled out from under you? I think that's addressing one of the objections that you mentioned earlier about things moving so quickly.
A great question. Like any technology or a technology provider, there's always risk inherent in the longevity of a solution or the solution provider themselves. So similar to any investment that you make in technology to improve workplace safety, investigate or research the provider and the LLM, for that matter, behind any technologies that are used, to ensure that there's some strength and obviously minimize the chance that something would happen to that technology. When it comes to LLMs, though, there are many of them, and for the most part, they can be made interchangeable, such that if a single LLM, which is connected to a software solution, for example, like Certainty, has issues or becomes obsolete, it's quite easy, and in our case, it's instant to swap to another. And in fact, we do that on a regular basis, depending on the task that's required by the technology. So you have certain technologies that are better at visualization, and you have other LLMs and technology that are better at, say, insights and data analysis.
That's quite interesting. I hadn't thought about using different models depending on the service or the solution that you're trying to accomplish. That's really fascinating. I don't know that that's common knowledge for folks.
Yeah, and that's what we do. So we have a sort of a flow in our AI technology where information will pass from one LLM actually to another for different parts of the process flow, and based on the core competencies of the LLM in question.
That's really fascinating. Our next question is, how can organizations effectively balance the use of AI for that predictive safety management while still ensuring appropriate human oversight and accountability remain strong?
Great question. Again, like any other technology, and certainly safety management, where leadership is a key factor. AI, in some cases, will replace tasks that people do, but in most, it will augment what you do. So as a safety leader, it will allow you to do more efficiently, and it won't necessarily replace all aspects of that. So there should always be human involvement, human oversight, human use of the technologies.
Absolutely. I think still part of that it seems like goes back to a culture thing. If you allow the culture in your work site to be, oh, AI's got this, AI's going to cover this for us, I think that's where you open yourself up to some of those issues. But if you maintain that strong sense of, like you said, oversight and making sure that there's always a degree of involvement, it's just going to change over time.
Yeah, and the AI technologies are obviously getting better as time goes by, but hallucinations, as they're called, are a real factor. So again, you would need human oversight for critical decisions or analysis of what has been generated, or delivered, or provided.
Absolutely. Safety is not often a department with an excess to spend in their budget. What advice do you have for companies looking to pitch adding a solution like Certainty to upper management who might not necessarily understand or might have some of those objections that you'd outlined?
Great question. I think the simple answer is try and understand the return on the investment that you are making, compared to or instead of what you're doing now. So if, for example, you can reduce the time it takes someone to do an audit or an inspection by a significant amount or a quantifiable amount of time, document that and include it in the business case for and the ROI for the investment in your technology. And similarly, as I said earlier, if you are able to implement a technology slowly but surely on, say, for example, a subscription model that you can flex or downgrade over time if you need to, then that helps again with just getting things started, understanding the technology, understanding the benefit, understanding the cost.
Well, and on that note too, I think one of the things that you addressed was being very clear and intentional about what results you're looking for or what you're trying to achieve when adopting a solution like this, and not being afraid to start small, because especially with technological advances like AI, it seems like it can feel, oh, well, this is going to solve all of my problems all at once, and I want to start everywhere all at once, when that's a good way to get very overwhelmed, I think, to get very inundated with new information, new training, getting things set up and onboarded. Do you have any advice for scaling back those expectations when it seems like everywhere is your possibility?
Great question, because it is an exciting frontier as well. So people do get excited and distracted and run off in different directions to try and implement solutions. But be very clear about your needs and what problem it is you're trying to solve. So a very simple example, we're trying to reduce the time it takes us to write an audit report, or we're trying to improve the efficiency of comparing our results to these regulations. Now, all of that stuff is readily available and very cost effectively. Different, of course, from, as I say, the implementation of robotics throughout a manufacturing facility. So there are lots of ways to take advantage of big gains early, but in a stepwise fashion without significant investments.
I think that's very good advice for folks and a good strategy for just getting started and demonstrating the efficacy of the usefulness. What can these things do? Another question that's interesting: does the size of a company have any impact on the use case for various AI solutions? You'd think a larger sample size would lead to better data, but for sites with less than 100 employees, is this still a suitable option?
Absolutely. And it may even be a better approach is to start small. And the data analysis, it depends a little bit on what you're doing, but for the most part, you're analyzing your own data. But you can also very easily implement, prompts or requests that compare your data to, say, for example, safety regulations online, or your own data that you have available to you. So there's lots that can be done even with smaller data sets, particularly with things like comparative analysis to compliance and regulatory compliance.
That's really interesting to think about. That's just really fascinating. There's a lot of good stuff here. Let's see. You mentioned specifically, I believe it was for the visualize component, that it gives you a confidence score. Could you talk a little bit more about what goes into that?
Yeah. So if, for example, you have a safety inspection that's got 50 or 100 questions or whatever it might be, the confidence score for a particular question is based on the analysis of the attachments to an audit or an inspection and the question. So the question in itself effectively becomes a prompt for the analysis. So the confidence score will be based on its ability, AI's ability, or the platform's ability to answer that question in relation to the attachments that you've provided. And in the case of certainty and certainty vision, you can say, we want a minimum confidence score of 85, and if the model cannot deliver an answer with a confidence above 85, it will simply not answer that question. So it's not going to hallucinate and give you answers for every question, even though it can't. It will very clearly say, I cannot answer this question. You should provide more information, or have the safety inspector or the auditor answer this question themselves. And then the text-based substantiation, as I say, is the correlation to the question and the information that has been attached to the audit. And it'll tell you exactly why it's answered that question is yes or no, or whatever the answer option is, based on the information available.
So those are both methods of the solution itself, making it easier to offer that human oversight. And with the confidence score, you said you could tell it, I don't want it to answer anything unless its confidence score is at least 80, right? So that's building in that kind of oversight before it even attempts to answer something, right?
Correct. And in our case, with Certainty Insights, you can also ask for an insight at the end of the audit, which is highlight any questions that you think the safety leader or safety manager or auditor or inspector should look at independently on their own to verify. Because you can ask for any kind of insight that you want from the results of your audit or inspection.
So it's letting you help it tell you when to take a closer look.
Yeah, or as I said, a classic example in our customer base is give me the top 10 suggestions for corrective actions to improve safety performance across the business based on the results of this audit. But you can have any number of insights, and you can, as I say, they're prompt-based, so you can configure them and reconfigure them according to your needs over time.
That's very cool. I love that as a feature, because it's making, in all of the ways that it's making your job easier, it's continuing to make it easier still, or at least it's helping guide you toward what you should be looking at.
Exactly. And it also, the insights results not only use the answers to the questions in the audit, but the attached documentation as well. So you can generate any number of insights in a very, very rapid period of time that would normally take days, maybe even weeks for human eye analysis.
That's awesome. One question that we had regarding privacy: are there any red flags that folks should be aware of as they're researching various solution providers? Anything that folks should make sure that they're asking, or if they see it, they should steer clear?
The one thing I would say is that in most cases, an AI technology like Certainty will connect to one or many LLMs and ensure, and they do that by virtue of what's an API key or connection, and make sure that API connection is secure. It's custom, it's unique for that solution provider and that LLM, and that they have a contractual relationship to provide for that. Because if that's not the case, then all of the results of your safety audits and inspections are going into that LLM and then are made available for anyone else who's also using that LLM. But if you have a secure API key, then it's ring-fenced and it doesn't go anywhere else in the LLM workflow or environment.
So that's something that folks should be on the lookout for, in the same tune that they're researching which specific LLMs a solution is utilizing and making sure that those are strong and those are going to be stable. Also then making sure that the specific API connection is secure.
Yes, absolutely. The connection is key. And then the other thing to consider is, well, what LLM is the technology using, and is that the best use case for that, or the core competency for that LLM? And if not, is it flexible? Can you configure a different LLM, or can you change over time and therefore take advantage of the rapid improvements in LLM technology and competency?
Absolutely. Do we have any other questions before we wrap things up for today? Going once, twice, and sold. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And if you do think of any other questions, we'll be following up with a post-event survey. You can feel free to input those there, or you can always follow up with me afterward, and we'll get those questions addressed for you as soon as possible. I want to thank you, Hewitt, for joining us today. I think this was very helpful, especially as, like you mentioned, everything for AI can be very overwhelming. It feels like things are changing so quickly, and we're not always aware of the various use cases. I think some of the common opportunities are there, generative AI for sure, but I don't think folks are as aware of the other ways that this can be implemented to save them time, effort, and money in the course of their day job. And again, I want to thank Certainty Software for making today's presentation possible. If you are interested in learning more about the ways that they can help you advance your safety excellence, a link to their offerings and solutions can be found below today's presentation. I want to thank you all once again for joining us, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you.